Steve Jobs did not invent the iPod, and he almost prevented its success. Apple got into the MP3 player business for one simple reason: all other music players sucked. Portable CD players were all the rage in the 1990s, but by 2000 they felt outdated. At the time, consumers were building massive libraries of digital music, often illegally downloading music onto their computers from services like Napster. And in 2001, Apple launched iTunes to help manage those digital music libraries. But there was one problem: there was no good way to take your music on the go with you. And at the time, legendary Apple CEO Steve Jobs started speaking internally about how Apple wanted to position the Mac as a digital hub for creatives, positioning the Mac as the centerpiece for music and digital content. And existing MP3 players were terrible. They were slow and bulky with small screens and even worse navigation. In just 1 month after the launch of iTunes, Apple hardware chief John Rubinstein was in Japan visiting Toshiba factories, where the Japanese supplier showed John Rubinstein a new piece of hardware. It was a brand new hard drive just 1.8 inches in diameter with a massive 5 gigabyte capacity. Toshiba didn't have any plans for this new technology, but John Rubinstein immediately recognized it could hold 1,000 songs. They wrote a check for $10 million on the spot to buy as many of these new chips as they could. And after some research, Apple engineers realized all of the components needed for a slick new MP3 player could fit inside the size of a pack of cards. Fast forward to the launch of the iPod. It sold a respectable 125,000 units in its first holiday season, but then sales petered out to just 20,000 units per month, way under expectations. The iPod was off to a rocky start, and Apple executives knew it. And after months of trying to convince Steve Jobs, he finally authorized iTunes software to work on Windows computers. Some call it the biggest and most important strategic choice in Apple history. And in Q4 of 2003, iPod sales soared by over 200% to 730,000 units, or about $2 billion in revenue, where they went from being a struggling tech company primarily for designers and creatives to one of the greatest technology companies of all time.